Hey y'all, welcome to SLOP. I'm your friendly neighborhood organizer, Austin, and I'm here with Red Mike.
Hello, comrades.
Organizer Austin on the mic. Red Mike. And yeah, we're trying to change some stuff up in year two. We'll see how it goes. So we're messing with the format and timing and stuff like that. So just be patient with us. But hey, that's why we're the most unprofessional podcast in the land.
It's
Maybe,
true.
maybe the known universe, maybe. And yeah, tonight we're gonna be talking about Venezuela, and yeah, something I was, trying to prepare for this stuff, and you can never read enough to be honest. But uh, did you know Citgo was owned by Venezuela?
I did not know that.
What up, Butterbean? Good to have you. Yeah, and they've had nationalized oil since the 70s as well. You know, what what is it? 300 million barrels, the biggest oil reserve in the world, bigger than any of the other ones by some of them quite a far margin.
Right. In case there's any doubt in your mind about why there's been all this recent saber rattling with Venezuela.
Which there's some interesting stuff about that. I mean, they like I saw let me just show you something I saw in my little research. Let's see here, real quick. Let's see if this works.
Isn't the overall objective of the United States Caribbean strategy just the threat of America's capabilities might be enough to persuade President Maduro? Happening behind the scenes, part of this shadow war is the battle of the wills, the diplomatic exchange of fire, so to speak. In fact, President Maduro may have already offered to simply comply with United States demands in early October in an attempt to keep power and avoid a fight with the American military. President Maduro is said to have offered to share Venezuela's immense oil and mineral wealth by promising a majority stake in all resource extraction to U.S. companies. This is according to multiple people close to the talks and negotiations that have been widely reported in the media. Maduro's negotiating team also allegedly offered to cut ties with American adversaries and stop exporting oil to Russia and China, essentially offering to do whatever was necessary, and the US government confirmed that this happened. And to sweeten the pot, Venezuela's diplomats also allegedly promised a phased transfer of power that would ultimately lead to Maduro stepping down and there being new elections. But the US diplomats.
So, ain't that something? It certainly reminds me of when the Taliban offered uh, Osama bin Laden's head on a silver platter, as it was described, and the U.S. said no. You know, so what really is the deal here?
Well, I think it's not just about achieving the objective. Like the person that was speaking said, Venezuela made a very generous offer to basically stop trading with China and to give America and American business interests uh, the first crack at Venezuelan oil, and the U.S. said no because it's about punishing successful resistance of any kind. It's about throwing your weight around.
It's about peace and the FIFA Peace Prize. Maybe Maduro should like send him like a golden barrel or something.
Maybe I don't think there's any. I'm sure that Trump is amenable to receiving gifts and even outright bribes, but I don't know. I think with his popularity tanking, so drumming up war has been an easy way to regain some popularity points that's been used by a variety of U.S. presidents, including Bill Clinton and George W. Bush.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah. The Monroe Doctrine has been mentioned, and there's that new national defense policy, which basically sounds like it was written by Russia, if you're, asking me, with the way it, these whole spheres of influence and whatnot, So, uh, but yeah, the Epstein files, the economy. I mean, well, what other great way to drive up some fervor and jingoism than war?
yeah, and you mentioned the Monroe Doctrine, and don't ask me why I read Mike Pompeo's memoir, but I did. Never Give an Inch, Fighting for the America I Love, it's called. So Mike Pompeo, if you don't remember, was Secretary of State and Director of CIA during Trump's first term. So
It's funny how those things really go together, don't they?
I know, right? Like, in some sense, I often joke that Trump is the most honest president we've ever had, because during his first term he made an oil executive the Secretary of State, which is just the most honest the American Empire has ever been. Instead of using the language, the officially approved language, like, we had kinetic action with regrettable loss of life and minimized casualties. Trump just says we're going to bomb the shit out of them. Like, so on some level, it's more honest. It's more honest brutality that doesn't hide behind the niceties of neoliberalism. But anyway, Trump, according to Pompeo, Trump is absolutely obsessed with the Monroe Doctrine, to the extent that people in his inner circle were calling it the Donroe Doctrine,
Oh,
as a bad joke, right? So Trump was all in favor of using the military against Venezuela all the way back in 2017. And his justification was that having friendly relations with Russia, China, and other enemies of the U.S. was a violation of the Monroe Doctrine. So Trump talks a lot about the Monroe Doctrine and genuinely seems to believe that Latin America and the Western Hemisphere are America's backyard and that they have to do what we say or else.
well, it seems like other people have an opinion on that, to say the
Right.
least.
So it's basically the equivalent of Stalin rolling tanks into Hungary. Like, this is our land, we can do whatever we want. It's about making a show out of who's boss.
You'll have to excuse my slight distraction. I just spilled shit all over my keyboard.
Oh
So,
no.
so let's hope I don't need another keyboard. But yeah.
I hope not. Well, if you do, I've probably got one sitting around somewhere that I'm not using.
And I just got a compliment today on it by my partner. She was like, "Oh, this is a nice keyboard."
So of course it's destroyed.
Yes. I mean, water doesn't ever hurt electronics, does it? So yeah, the Trump Row Doctrine.
The Donroe Doctrine.
Don.
So that is a little tidbit from Mike Pompeo's memoir. If you can bother to drag yourself through that, I don't know why I read it, but I did.
Because you're a glutton for punishment. We all know
Because
that.
I'm a glutton for punishment. I hate myself, and that's why I subject myself to all sorts of right-wing propaganda.
Well, it don't take much to I mean, hell. CBS, ABC, NBC, all of them, I mean, effectively are right wing, So you ain't got to look very hard to find all that.
That's true. Especially CBS these days that are very wise. But
Yeah.
so the context for all this, the most recent act of aggression towards Venezuela happened earlier tonight when the Coast Guard seized a tanker that was destined for Cuba from Venezuela that contained a certain amount of oil. I forget the exact amount. So the largest one ever seized. So it's basically what Maduro has called it, an international act of piracy, and I think that is accurate.
I think that gives a bad name to pirates. They actually had democracy.
That's true. So it's basically state-sanctioned piracy, the worst sort of piracy, as opposed to the cool kind of piracy where they had democratically run ships.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a joint Coast Guard and Navy joint.
Hmm.
And I saw about literally like 3 seconds of the video. I got my partner. The news is on. It starts with that, and she goes, "What?" You know, I'm like, the framework in which you lived your whole life and understanding how government and everything works, that's way out the door. Like, say goodbye to that shit. Like, we're in a new era, baby.
Right. So it was just an outright act of theft that had no justification behind it. And of course, they made some sort of noise about, let's see, what was it? What were the exact words that Pam Bondi used? Let's see if I can find that. For multiple years, the oil tanker has been sanctioned by the United States due to his involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. There's absolutely no evidence that that's true. It seems to have been on its way to Cuba, not to Iran or someplace like that. The oil there was destined for Asia. And so, yeah, the idea that it's going to fund some clandestine network of terrorists seems to be a lie.
Yeah. What
There,
are the terrorists? We got Cuba as a terrorist state, North Korea, Iran, and what's the other one? Syria. Yeah.
yeah.
Which we have the Syrian president in town recently.
Oh yeah.
So it's just such
So
ridiculous bullshit.
So this all happens in the broader context of slowly escalating hostilities with Venezuela. So ever since October or so, there has been a vast military buildup in the Caribbean. They even sent the USS Gerald Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, into the region. So more than 10% of all deployed American naval assets are now in Central and South America. The Trump administration has authorized the CIA to conduct quote unquote lethal operations within Venezuela. So lethal operations means assassinations, and other forms of secret warfare. And they've made, like, I guess it was last week or the week before, Trump issued called Maduro on the phone and issued an ultimatum telling him to step down. Prominent Republicans have gone on TV threatening him. So saying things like Representative Mario Diaz-Balart said that Maduro can only negotiate not to have his plane down while escaping. Rick Scott, the senator, said, if I was Maduro, I'd head to Russia or China right now. His days are numbered. Something's going to happen. Friends of mine who are involved in more like acquaintances rather than friends, who are involved in the defense, quote unquote, industry in Huntsville have said to me to not be surprised if we're not in a state of war by the end of the year or early within the next year. So, like, the defense contractors are all.
Yeah, I deserve a good Christmas. We deserve a good Christmas present, don't we?
a good Christmas present. So maybe after Christmas, but apparently the expectation among defense contractors in the region is that we'll be at war soon.
Oh, what a bloody foolish endeavor.
So yeah,
what there's about 150,000 regular army troops, but also Venezuela has been preparing the populace as well. I think there's somewhere around 500,000 folks that have been armed and are being trained to defend stuff and what we got in the urban areas and whatnot. And of course, you got the urban areas, and then you also got jungle and mountains, which talk about places that are hard to fight. You know, these aren't like the plains of Waterloo.
right.
Know?
So, and it bears stating too that Venezuela may not be on the same military level as the United States, but they do have a modern military with an army, a navy, and an air force, and they've already flown jets over American ships in the Atlantic. So, like again, like this idea that we'll be greeted as liberators, that it's going to be a cakewalk, like all of these things are false. It's the build-up to the Iraq War all over again. And just like the invasion of Iraq in 2003, a war with Venezuela would be illegal under international law. Under the Statute of Rome, you are not permitted to attack countries that have not attacked you, and we would be the aggressors for sure. So, and it's go ahead.
No, I was going to so like Maduro's offered, you know, majority ownership, offered to step down, and you know, they continue forward with this with all their ridiculous reasons, from narco terrorism to
which is a made-up word that doesn't mean anything. Narco-terrorism is just taking two bad things and mashing it together in order to create a category of people who are bad.
Like diarrhea vomit. Like,
right, exactly. And so, and it turns out that there's no exception in the Rome statute that someone is a quote unquote a bad guy, therefore you get to launch wars of aggression against them. The supreme international crime is attacking a country that has not attacked you first. And Venezuela has not attacked us. They are doing business with countries that are opposed to us, but that is hardly a crime. And
shit, we're importing Russian fertilizer, you know?
right.
Like Christmas comes from China, you know? Like,
I mean, absolutely. Like we've done, like, so I mean, when people point out that Maduro is an authoritarian, which seems to be true, certainly his last election was pretty sketchy. So I don't think it's unfair to call him a dictator. But there are plenty of reprehensible nations around the world that America is happy to be allied with. Like our concern for human rights and authoritarianism is very selective. You know, we're friends with Turkey, we're friends with Israel, we're friends with Hungary under Viktor Orban, and like one of the worst countries on the planet is Saudi Arabia when it comes to awful authoritarian governments, and they are one of our closest allies, right? So,
yeah, I mean, I read an article today talking about allies. Read an article today about how Israel has now been
trigger
using
warning.
Big trigger warning. How they've been using dogs to rape people in prison. Which
Pinochet did that too.
oh, he did.
Yeah.
So is that was Pinochet in? Wasn't he influenced by? Didn't he have like Old War II Nazis uh, like in his regime, or am I thinking of somebody else?
It wouldn't surprise me if that was so, but I don't remember the exact people you're talking about.
So it's like full circle then. But yeah, it's a shit show. But it can be better, and it will be better.
So yeah,
back to Venezuela.
That's terrible about Israel. Obviously, like it's horrifying to even contemplate. But there are lots of awful governments that we happily do business with, that we happily have allies with, and we don't launch military assaults on them. Not that we would have any right to if we wanted to. We don't. And again, like under international law, starting a war of aggression against a country which has not attacked you is crime number one. And I hate to sound like some liberal saying, well, they can't do this, it's illegal. But I think that if we want the idea of international law to have any meaning, it has to bind the United States as well as it binds other countries. And you can't say, well, this country is bad because they violate international law when we reserve the right to violate international law whenever we wish. So attacking countries to cause regime change is one of the most clear-cut violations of the international law. And that doesn't change, as far as, again, I don't want to defend Maduro. Like, there have been all kinds of human rights abuses under his rule. His last election, maybe it wasn't stolen, but it did fall off a truck.
But there's, honestly, it always feels to me that there's just no good governments, is what it feels like. At least not yet. From every country you look at, you can find fault with them for sure. But just like you said, that doesn't mean that you should propagate war upon each and every country,
Right.
And if, we as a people here doing what we can, we should like always operate of high character, and we just don't, and it feels like we never really have. um good propaganda, say a lot of good things, but but don't follow through. It's just constant lip service, just lip service.
Right. And certainly there are regimes that are far worse than Venezuela under Maduro, and we don't even talk about going to war against them or replacing their governments. So, like, it's very selective when we care about, and it just so happens that the country we're concerned about human rights abuses in is sitting on the world's largest oil reserves. That seems a little bit too coincidental for my taste.
Yeah.
And the other idea too, like they're calling like this made up word narco-terrorist, right? Like they're trying to argue that Venezuela is responsible for the drugs that are coming into the country. And it's entirely false. The U.S. military and intelligence services have said so. So in 2004, the United States Drug Enforcement Administration released a national drug threat assessment, and they don't even mention Venezuela. They spend all the time talking about Colombia, Bolivia, and Peru. So the drugs aren't coming from Venezuela.
No.
In 2020, the DEA estimated that only 8% of cocaine trafficking comes from Venezuela, and 74% comes from Colombia and Ecuador.
Yeah. But they
So,
ain't got oil. They ain't got oil.
but they don't have oil. Although there's been some Trump today said that Colombia is next when it comes
Oh,
to
great.
regime change. That was one of his comments earlier today.
This is
So none of the fentanyl comes from Venezuela. That comes from Rand Paul. So Rand Paul says, number one, there is no fentanyl being made in Venezuela. Not just a little bit, there's none. So it's not about drugs. And if it were about drugs, there would be plenty of other countries that we would attack first, including countries like Colombia. Not that we should attack them, but again, it's not about drugs, and it's not about human rights.
yeah. Well, if it was really about drugs, right? Drug problem here, it would be the way to honestly deal with that stuff is a thriving wage, healthcare, housing, all the fundamentals that, you know, where desperation takes hold in somebody, that's that's a lot of times where, addiction comes from, you know?
Yeah, and I think it was Portugal that did like a 10-year experiment on drug decriminalization, where they didn't legalize it, but they decriminalized most drugs. So that if you got busted with heroin or something, then you had to go and do mandatory treatment, but it wasn't imprisonment. You had to do mandatory counseling and drug therapy, and as a result, the drug use, and not to mention the number of people in prison, plummeted. So it's the war on drugs that perpetuates these things and creates one of the worst prison systems in the world.
Yeah,
It's definitely
I heard today that like something like 77 million Americans have basically been in jail at some point.
right. No, we lock up more people than per capita than some of the world's worst countries, including like China. I mean, America locks up a larger proportion of its citizenry than China does, than the Soviet Union did.
Yeah.
And I remember reading, like in Alabama alone, like the prisons are operating at nearly 200% capacity. And if you just pardoned and released nonviolent drug offenders, that number would drop to nearly 100% capacity plus a little bit of change. So we're blowing a hole in our state's budget in order to incarcerate people, and we're not making any headway against the drugs. We're not it's just not very effective. And meanwhile, one of the biggest blows to the cartels in Mexico was when states like Colorado legalized weed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean,
So
hey, that prohibition shit, that's how the mafia formed, You
right.
you really really the only way to handle this stuff is through like some common sense stuff, common sense regulation, legalization, decriminalization, all these type policies, versus just the cruelty. Some folks are driven by cruelty on this stuff, uh, and some people are driven by profits on this stuff.
Right. And there's this attitude about like if we just punish the right people the right amount, that the problems will be solved. It's the mindset of a school principal. Like the only tool in the toolbox is punishment. And the question is, whenever there's a problem, the question is, who do we punish, and how do we heap even more punishment on them in order to solve the problem? That's the only thing to think about. And I think that is part of the problem with being ruled by lawyers is that they think, oh, we'll just make rules against it and we'll punish people who break those rules, and that will solve the problem. And they're not able to think outside of that paradigm. So it's
I like that. Fucking lawyers.
no, I mean, there's a reason why people hate lawyers, and I think that having so many lawyers govern us has been a mistake.
Yeah.
So it's not about the drugs. There are better ways. There's better ways to deal with the drugs. B, the drugs aren't coming from Venezuela. So the fentanyl, it doesn't, like, every time you hear Trump or somebody say fentanyl's coming from Venezuela, he's lying. Whenever he says, oh, the cocaine and whatever is coming from Venezuela, that is also a complete lie. 8%. And so, and it's not. And as I said before, the United States government doesn't actually care about human rights. And you can look at our list of allies, like if they're right wing and dictatorial, then they're okay, like Turkey, Hungary, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the other Gulf monarchies, among others. So that leaves the question, right? Like, what is the war actually about? And what are U.S. wars always about? And money and control of valuable resources. So, and again, like, I keep saying Trump is one of the most honest presidents we've ever had. And like, he just doesn't have the tact, or he doesn't have the decency to try to dress up what we're doing behind the approved language, right? Like, he just straight out said,
calls it like it is.
It's about the oil. Like, so here's a direct quote from Trump. When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door. But now we're buying oil from Venezuela, so we're making a dictator very rich. Can you believe this? Nobody can believe it.
Nobody can believe it, folks.
Yeah, I can't do it, Trump, so I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
So, like, the idea that you would even treat another world leader as somebody to negotiate with and strike a fair deal with, like, he just wants to take it over. And it's not the first time, right? Like, there was the joke of putting Juan Guaido, recognizing him as the opposition, as the rightful president of Venezuela. And then Guaido ran around trying to pretend to be the president of Venezuela for a little while, which led to a number of hilarious incidents where he just was completely embarrassed. And then, like, companies that Venezuela owed money to would call Guaido trying to get their money. So he was getting shaken down by American corporations, like American bill collectors.
Oh, you say you're the president, so hey, I need my money.
That is basically what happened to him. And there were a number of just hilarious and embarrassing incidents that involved Juan Guaido. Again, I'm not some sort of special pleader for Maduro, but seeing Juan Guaido get humiliated was satisfying for me personally. And this Maria Corina Machado character, who most recently won the Nobel Peace Prize and dedicated to Trump. So she has endorsed U.S. military action to oust Maduro and has said that she's ready to take power. And in an interview with Donald Trump Jr. just this past February, she basically declared the regime change would be a big business opportunity for U.S. firms. So here's the quote: "Forget about Saudi Arabia, forget about the Saudis. I mean, we have more oil, I mean, infinite potential, and we're going to open markets. We're going to kick the government from the oil sector. We're going to privatize all our industry. This country, Venezuela, is going to be the brightest opportunity for investment of American companies." of good people that are going to make a lot of money. So it's just nakedly about taking over another country's resources for the benefit of Wall Street Journal readers.
Yeah, I think one of her favorite people of all time is Miss the Iron Lady herself, Margaret Thatcher. All right, there should be a clue. Anybody who like has iron as part of their nickname, you know, maybe double check them.
But that quote, "We're going to privatize all our industry," that certainly gets my hackles up. So instead of the people of Venezuela getting to use their oil in ways that benefit the entire people of Venezuela, they're going to privatize all of that and hand it over to American business interests. So that's the goal. It's about control of the oil, and it's about opening up this market to predatory United States firms.
Yeah. It's the same old story the crow told me. The only one he knows. It's just rinse and repeat on foreign policy for pretty much the entire time. And, you know, not just the U.S.'s runs this same little grift, you know, it's pretty much every country just about runs this same grift, you know.
I'm not a big fan of the uniparty narrative that says there's no difference between Democrats and Republicans. Obviously, I'm personally not a Democrat, but I do think on domestic policy there are important differences between Republicans and Democrats that do matter. But on foreign policy, they're a lot closer.
Mm-hmm.
And so for every Republican I can name that I have named in the course of this, I can also talk about Democrats like John Fetterman or Elisa Slotkin, or even people like Hakeem Jeffries, who are every bit as pro-war as any Republican, but they know to use genteel language when they talk about what they're doing and why. So they don't say we're going to bomb the S out of them. They say, you know, we're going to take decisive action in order to defend human rights and all this other approved language.
Yeah. But and at the end, right, is one group of folks in rich people's pockets telling one part of the population this war is good, and then the other group doing the same thing with a bit of different language. That way you hit the whole spectrum of people. Oh, drugs. Oh, yeah, we need to take care of that. Oh, human rights. Oh, we need to take care of that. You know, whatever flavor of reason that somebody needs for a war, like we'll say that reason so we can have the war.
Right. I mean, exactly. Like when George Bush wanted to invade Iraq, he was talking about feminism and saying, well, what about women's rights? And what about the ability of women to dress as they please and things like that? Things that conservatives normally oppose. But he was happy to try to claim that point of view when he thought it would help him justify, you know, killing 1 million Iraqis for no good reason. So,
So there is a bit of like this weird contradiction going on though with like there's a few Republicans and a few Democrats with all the bombing of these boats and stuff, right? Like, you know, what's that right there? Like on one level, they're like, hey, this is against the law, this is against international law, this is a war crime. Like, are these like a different faction that is against what Trump is trying to do out there, or is that also just, you know, to make them feel better or whatever?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah. There's what 535 between the Senate and the House, and it's certainly hard to keep up with all their opinions. Yeah,
Right.
but it seems, and you mentioned Jeffries and Fetterman and stuff, but yeah, I have it being pro going invading Israel, which there's a few veterans in Congress and Senate, right? Just a handful. Most of them Republicans. And me personally, being a veteran, uh, war is absolutely the last thing I really ever want. You know, I have to imagine some of these folks in Congress that have been to war. Uh, Tammy Duckworth comes to mind. Uh, where are their voices? What are they saying? You know?
I don't know. There are Democrats who are on the right side of issues like this, and there are a handful of Republicans who like Rand Paul. As much as I despise Rand Paul, when it comes to foreign policy, he tends to be a little bit more critical of the American empire. And like I quoted him earlier in the course of my remarks, when he was saying like the case for deposing Maduro over drugs is not there because the drugs aren't coming from the fentanyl is not coming from Venezuela. So, but no, and this is almost beside the point. But I do think that a war in Venezuela would not go as well as as the war in Iraq did from the military point of view, where we defeated their military in a handful of weeks, and that was the end of it. Venezuela is a country with a somewhat modern navy and air force. They've already buzzed American destroyers with F-16s. So I think they would be able to inflict some casualties on Americans, which I think would only heighten America's bloodlust.
And they're the people. We got answercoalition.org here, but DSA was also a part of this. There was, and I didn't see any videos of any of this stuff over the internet, but there was a National Day of Action, December 6th, before the war. Stop the war before it starts.
Yeah. So I mean that brings up to a point that I kind of wanted to mention at the end, but we can talk about it now. Like, what would it take to actually stop the war? And I don't know what the answer to that question is. But I cut my teeth as a political organizer over the Iraq War. It was the Iraq War that got me into politics. And we held the largest protests in the history of the world at that point of time. And they had the Iraq War anyway, like we weren't even there. And I'm concerned that we're just going to repeat the same tactics of marching around in a circle holding up a sign and expecting that to make some sort of difference. I don't think that is sufficient. Now, what is sufficient, I do not know. But I don't want to see us just say, "Oh, we're gonna have a day of action against the war." Like, okay, what does that mean? Like, you're gonna go hold up your sign and be ignored. Like, I've kind of gotten down on that as a protest tactic. I just don't think it's clearly not it's not sufficient to stop wars. And I'll even go further and say that I'm very skeptical of the claim that these protests played a role in the stopping of the Vietnam War. Um, I think about, the years that there were the highest participation in protests, like 68, was also the year that Nixon escalated the war and invaded the surrounding countries secretly.
Yeah.
And that really, the Vietnamese War was ended by the armed resistance of the Vietnamese people. And I'm not saying take up arms against the American government, because I don't think that would work either. But I'm saying we need to think about what would it take to actually stop it. And I
And
think,
go ahead.
and I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm very reluctant to repeat the same tactics and expect a different result from the Iraq
So,
War.
so I think, you know, what I gather, that it's going to be a slog for the working class to come together over time, because in my opinion we're still very much in the formation phase across the country of coming together, um and it's going to be years before these foreign policy issues like Venezuela, like Israel, are going to change to our benefit, and not only our benefit but our brothers and sisters and cousins and others across borders. Yeah. And I don't think there's a quick fix to this. I think that, it is, we are where we're at, and that we just have to keep recruiting and building. And yeah, we do need to be out there on the streets, because folks are out there on the streets, it does raise awareness and it brings more people into the fold, you know. But hey, something that I learned about the Vietnam, speaking of that, is that, actually protests started like in 1945, with actually with I think like dock workers not wanting to send arms over there.
Yeah, and that was 45 was before America was involved directly. So it was still the
Yeah,
French doing the majority of the fighting in the 40s.
yeah, and
Uh, I think America
and
didn't get involved in Vietnam until 54.
I think
That
you're
sounds
right.
about right.
Yeah, and also with that, it took uh, service members. They protested. They a lot of uh, they didn't want to follow some orders out in the field out there. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but in what wouldn't Vietnam technically, quote unquote, a police action? Is that the right term that had been used?
Yeah, like it wasn't a formally declared war. It was, I think police action was the euphemism that they used. Yes. Um, Certainly when it began under Johnson, it was called a police action. But I think even before Johnson left office, it was clear that it was really a war in which 40,000 Americans died and 400,000 Vietnamese soldiers died. It's like they had 10-1 losses.
Yeah,
And that was just against America. That doesn't count the losses they faced against the French.
yeah. What is it? Good. I can't. I'm gonna mess this saying up, but uh, it's something along the lines of the Vietnamese fought like uh, China for 1,000 years. Uh, Fought uh, Japan, or was it Korea? Oh no, not either one of those. The French for 100 years, and then like us for 10 years, something like that. But there's some witty saying that is escaping me at the moment. But yeah. So with that, clearly, especially with the Supreme Court ruling that he can't do president can't do anything illegal, and all the other international deployments we have and fighting we have over the world, like is regardless of Congress, like he'll go in, if that's what he ultimately decides to do, right?
Right. And I just think it's going to be disastrous on both sides. A war in Venezuela, not only will American soldiers get killed, but America doesn't have much concern about the lives of civilians.
Yeah.
And Venezuela is one of the most urbanized countries in Latin America. So a plurality of people live in Caracas and in other cities in the north.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about bombing cities, then you're talking about bombing places where the majority of Venezuelans live.
But then they have the mountains and the jungles to retreat to, withdraw to. But with that, like there's a basic math formula when it comes to war, that if whatever, it's a 1-to-3 ratio, that if you're on the attack, you require 3 times as many troops as those on the defense, and they're at 500,000 or so people, if not more, which would mean that bombs, and you use bombs all you want and they'll do a hell of a lot of damage and destruction, but it would still require well over 1 million troops, boots on the ground to accomplish what they set out. You ain't gonna have squadrons of tanks going through the jungle and up into the mountains,
Right.
And
no, it'll be another slog. And I don't think we can put Machado in power. I don't think she has the kind of base of support that would grant her any kind of legitimacy.
No,
and all the time.
It could very well be, especially with Trump saying what he say, Colombia's next, could very well turn into the destabilization of the Middle East, right? It could very well turn into that in South America. Just like, that's just thinking right now, like that's the vibe I'm getting, is all, we destabilize that whole region. Not, not that I'm a fucking Saddam Hussein fan,
Of course not.
But there was not all out war. Like, people do not get the brutality, like maybe more nowadays, with seeing like how Israel has done to Palestine, and Russia and Ukraine. Like, maybe they get it more, but like, because like the numbers in Iraq were very well hidden. Like they never reported on like civilian casualties, right? And those were well into the millions, but I could very well see a regional destabilization occur, just like the Middle East.
Right. With unknown consequences but almost certainly bad consequences for the people of Venezuela, not to mention the people who will be sent off to fight this war from the American side. who are predominantly people from inner city schools and rural areas. Those are the bulk of the fighting forces.
Yeah. Yeah. Working
So,
class.
right.
Just,
Being used to line the pockets of war profiteers.
Yeah. Because you certainly ain't going to see no rich folks out there. But it's,
Oh yeah, they and their children won't be anywhere near it. They'll be running businesses that are liquidating Venezuelan goods or public goods and stealing Venezuelan oil.
yeah. Oof.
So it's important that we push back against this in any way that we can. I think part of the what we have here is that the MAGA coalition, part of the support for Trump was the opposition to forever wars because Trump made the right noises about not getting involved in forever wars. Even though I never took him at his word, even though I know some leftists who did, unfortunately, and said, "Oh, Trump is better on foreign policy than a Hillary Clinton would have been," which I never found very persuasive, and certainly don't now in the face of all this belligerence and saber rattling and threatening presidents in Venezuela and Colombia, among others, dropping bombs in Iran.
Yeah.
So, but this has the potential to split the MAGA crowd in half. I think that there are a significant number of MAGA people who are opposed to forever wars and don't want to see this happen. And so
Yeah.
even your Chud representative might be reachable on this issue if they're hearing about it. Maybe you can lie and say, as a lifelong Trump supporter, I oppose this war in Venezuela. I don't know. Maybe don't lie to them, but
Hey, by any means necessary, dog.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So
There's
I'll be contacting my Congress critters and urging
didn't
them to go ahead.
hasn't Marjorie Trader Green come out against this? Or did am I misthinking on that?
I don't remember seeing a quote by her. Let me Google real quick and see if I don't think so.
Okay. So
The
we said
nearest thing I could find was a quote she made last year saying the poor people of Venezuela's election has been stolen, which is debatably true. It's worth stressing that the Maduro's last election was pretty shady.
yeah.
Like there was some shady stuff going on. Like I said, maybe it wasn't stolen, but it did fall off a truck. Certainly, I wouldn't be comfortable living in a country like that. But that doesn't give us the right to go and kill a bunch of Venezuelans and replace their government with something that's going to liquidate their public goods and take their oil away from them, so they don't have the benefit of it, right? Like this is the same mistake we made in Iran in the 70s, or I'm not in the 70s. I'm sorry. Prior to that, when we put the Shah in power, right? Because they elected a socialist, and the socialist was saying, "Hey, Iranian oil belongs to the Iranian people, and we're going to use this oil to fund socialism." And the CIA said, "No, you're not."
I'd be interested in looking more into Venezuela and everything. Like, where he doesn't have like the CCOT type situation. Where the hell is that again?
El Salvador.
El Salvador. Thank you very much. So he sounds better than that motherfucker. Just off the rip. But yeah, Madeira's beside the point. Like, like we said at the top, he's offered to transition out of power. He's offered, uh, you know, a majority stake in minerals and oil. And
Let's see if I can find the exact language of the thing. Let's see. Somewhere I have in my notes the exact nature of what he offered.
yeah,
So
because there's several elements here. There's the distraction element from like the Epstein files. There's profiteering off the oil, right? There's
right.
saying you took out a dictator. There's saying you're stopping narco terrorists. There there's the did I already say war machine, uh, profits to the war machine. Like there's several angles.
Right. Yeah, things like this don't just happen for one reason. Like there are several reasons going on. The exact offer was this, and this is from the New York Times on October the 10th. Maduro would open up all existing and future oil and gold projects to American companies, give preferential contracts to American businesses, reverse the flow of Venezuelan oil exports from China to the United States, and slash his country's energy and mining contracts with Chinese, Iranian, and Russian firms, all in exchange for the United States not attacking his country.
Yeah,
And
I
Trump
mean,
rejected it.
you
Like
know, and
the
that
sweetest of sweetheart deals, and Trump rejected it.
yeah, that and a bit of that, like that doesn't sound like a dictator to me. That sounds like somebody who actually gives a shit about their people because he realizes like what can happen, you know? Like I mean, not to say that he's not authoritarian or whatever, but like uh it sounds like he's trying to save lives.
Yeah,
Even
like he recognized, like he's not a mad dog. He understands that a war with the United States would be a disaster, and he wants to avoid it.
yeah.
Right? Like I mean, several things can be true at once. Like he can be an authoritarian dictator and also recognize the problem with fighting the United States.
Well, yeah, it just seems from what I've seen about other dictators, it seems different, you know? Like I've seen I remember most of them not bowing down, you know what I mean? And just saying fuck it like Trump would, you know? Like
Right.
if Trump was in his position, I would see him burning the whole country down before something like that.
Oh, absolutely. Like Trump would be a lunatic and would say, like, "Oh, we're gonna fight them, and how dare they do this to us, and all that other stuff." Like there would be no backing down. There would be no offering of any kind of a deal, especially not as terms as quasi humiliating as what Maduro offered.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit. You know,
So go
well,
ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was gonna say what else we got on Venezuela. Because which also like I suggest y'all looking at the history of Venezuela. Um, I learned a lot of things doing some research today. This, like everything, you keep peeling back a layer and layer and layer, and the history is way more interesting than fiction on a lot of levels.
Well, that sort of exhausts my notes, and this was kind of an experiment where instead of relying on a particular article, I compiled a bunch of different things from various sources and sort of strung them together and tried to put them into my own words.
I love it.
So I don't know how successful I was, but
You
that
were
was my
you
That was
were
fun.
you were beautifully. You told a story. You gave a narrative. Yes, mission accomplished. I don't know if like like I said, folks who out there listening, we're still figuring this out. We're looking at, it'd be great to get some input from y'all out there. But we were looking at doing some like 10 and 20-minute videos more often, but it seems we like talking to each other and whatnot.
Yeah, once I get going, it's hard not to keep going.
Yeah,
But there was a
it's
lot of
hard.
sources I used, from the New York Times to, there was an article called "No War with Venezuela in Current Affairs" by Alex Skopik. I drew some of the quotes from there because he had it nice and organized. Al Jazeera, which is a thing that I read pretty often. Um, and a few other websites too. Like, and tried to synthesize some sort of state. And I tried to be as brief as possible because I thought, oh, let's just talk about Venezuela for 20 minutes and see how that goes. And here we are, an hour in.
Yeah.
But the
Go ahead.
point is that this is Iraq 2.0. It's not gonna be a simple matter of defeating the military and then occupying Venezuela. Like, there was gonna be continued resistance to any sort of regime change. Like, not only is it, I mean, not to mention that it's illegal, it will get a lot of people killed, and it's just nakedly about stealing oil and money from another sovereign nation. And we have to resist it to the extent that we can, in addition to fighting everything else. Like, I know it feels like we're drinking from the fire hose, but I think that we'll have a lot more allies than you might think, because I really hope and believe that the American people are tired of war finally.
I saw a chart that take your birth year and then what percentage of your life has America been at war? And my birth year, I'm a little over 50%, but you go back, 1997, 1996, and it's 100%, like, so what year is this? 2025, so 25, so almost 30 straight years of war uh in this country.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that the war in Iraq, and to a lesser extent Afghanistan, were
Lessons.
instructed. Yeah, were important lessons for the American people, in that nothing they told us about Iraq turned out to be true. Like, it was all a lie from beginning to end. Everything they said, whether it was weapons of mass destruction, we'll be greeted as liberators, we're going to create a freer, safer Iraq, none of that turned out to be true. And we spent $1 trillion and lasted, what, 20 years?
Something like that, yeah.
And even in the war that was, at least on some level, partially not completely irrational, like Afghanistan. Like, Afghanistan had broader support, but the administration of the war, like, we didn't build a safer, better Afghanistan, despite spending billions of dollars. And
As a matter of fact, we just sent a cool 45 million to the Taliban.
right, and I don't mean to defend the war in Afghanistan, and that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, it was a much more moderate position to be in favor of attacking, since they had played some sort of role in, at least played some sort of role in 9/11 attacks. Not that I'm saying that justifies it, because I don't think that it did. But invading Iraq had nothing to do with anything. Like, it was just attacking a country that hadn't attacked us first, and had nothing to do with anything that had to do with anything.
No, they had like a very stringent no-fly zone. Like it was very much like under our thumb, you know.
So I'm hoping that a lot more Americans see the limitations of empire and see that there's like this approach of going in and trying to use might in order to produce good outcomes is just not productive.
It's the last fucking possible thing you ever want to do.
Like if you just can't see civilian casualty rates and be upset about that, then maybe you'll at least accept the practical argument that no good can come of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
It's very depressing. So did you have any pop culture stuff or anything fun to end the note on? It's because like I mean, honestly, there probably isn't much we can do to stop the war in Venezuela. Like, if Trump decides to do it, it's going to happen. There's going to be enough Republicans and enough Democrats who will, like, there are plenty of Democrats who will support it as long as Trump notifies Congress first. Like, their big, like, Elisa Slotkin's big beef with Trump is that he didn't tell Congress before he started dropping bombs. Rather than that, they're on team dropping bombs. So if they decide to do it, there's not a whole lot we can do. We're just not in a place where we can do something like a general strike, which is what I think what it would take in order to stop a war from happening.
Yeah.
I just don't think we're there yet in terms of organization.
Well,
But so it could be like kind of a depressing way to end things. Like, well, we have a duty to try to stop this, but we also have to be realistic about what our chances are if Trump really decides to do it. And it may be that Trump is persuadable, like he's pushable on this issue. Like if he gets enough letters or whatever, especially from people in places that are pro-Trump, maybe he'll back off on it like he did to some extent in 2019. I don't know.
maybe the trick is we call the Nobel Peace Prize people and ask them to call him and tell him he'll get that award if he doesn't go into Venezuela.
So there are a number of people who have won Nobel Peace Prizes by backing horrific violence and then just sort of stopping. And I'm thinking primarily of Henry Kissinger, and to a lesser extent, someone like Yasser Arafat, who got one too. And what was the name of the Israeli prime minister who received the Nobel Peace Prize and then was assassinated by? Um,
I know
I
who you're
think
talking about.
what was his name? Oh, I'm blanked on his name. Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
Yitzhak Rabin? Is that wrong?
That's it. That's him.
Look at me. Oh shit. I'm gonna do a little dance on that.
Way to go.
All right. Maybe I could still make a Jeopardy show. Man, I tell you what, I watched Alabama Scholars Bowl challenge the other day. It was on the Alabama Public Television. Woo! Them kids, Jeopardy ain't got shit on them. I'll put it like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I did answer quite a few questions. I was quite proud of myself, but those kids kicked my ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know how I would do with something like that.
Yeah. You know, kind of talking. Let's try this. We'll go out on this over here. Although it is questionable, but we'll end on a little lighter note on two things. I mean, one of them ain't gonna be that light, but best memes of 2025 according to Rolling Stone. Now some of these don't exactly rate as memes. I kind of remember this one, reheating nachos. You hear that one? No.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, as basically saying you lacked originality. Also, have you ever had reheated nachos?
I don't think that I ever have. No,
Oh man,
I can't eat cheese, so I don't eat many nachos.
how? Well, you know what a chip is supposed to be, right?
Yes.
Uh, Imagine instead of a chip, it's just like a wet piece of paper now. That's what you're getting when you hit some reheated nachos. Yeah. Uh, Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl. Yeah. I know we saw this one.
Yeah, I did see this one, baby faced.
Yeah, I don't see how this
Vance.
like their use of meme is I feel very incorrect. So
Yeah.
What did it say? Brain rot took center stage in this year's internet discourse. AI was a close second. Okay.
I am up on brain rot.
Oh yeah. What there's now there's like different styles.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So maybe I'm not up on it.
We'll get to that here in a second. Of course, all the JD Vance memes, they were quite prolific. On Reddit, there's so many like ball headed profile pictures. JD Vance baby bald. Everything computer. Recession. Oh, I've looked up this. This is were they following me? But yeah, recession indicators. My favorite is the strip club indicator. That when a recession is taking place, people visiting the strip clubs goes way down. But here's some that I heard. Addison Rae's music career, the return of flash mobs, people wearing business casual to clubs, among others.
Was it,
Huh?
was it you who was telling me that vampire literature is a sign of a recession?
Yes.
That when it becomes popular, it means recession.
Yes,
I think
that
it was
was.
you who mentioned that.
Yeah, because I spent like half a day looking this shit up for one tweet.
That's wild.
This guy Ashton Hall. You you see any of this fella? Waking up at 3:52 a.m. and having like bottled water face baths and then doing it again and all this craziness. And then so that was a
I don't
big.
even know who Ashton Hall is.
Yeah, nobody did until this year. Uh, at I missed this episode, but fella Morgan Wallen uh, leaving right when the credits started rolling. He just dipped off the stage. Normally, everybody hangs around on SNL and hugs it up, and then hosted "Get Me to God's Country." It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Right.
these fools, like, do you know how many big ass churches are in New York? Like,
I was just in Manhattan just last week, and it turns out it's full of normal people living normal lives. And yeah, it was very I had a great time in Manhattan. And yeah, even though we did mostly tourist things, like I still had fun, and it was nice to get to know a new place, and no one was rude to me even once. Like, so it turns out that New Yorkers are normal people living normal lives, and maybe they have a little bit more exciting than we do.
Dude,
Certainly, you can get more things.
I really want to go to New York. Of course, I definitely mark myself real quick staring up at the fucking height of the buildings,
Oh yeah.
But
Well, next time I want to go to Brooklyn. Like this time was Manhattan, so next time will be Brooklyn. And isn't Morgan Wallen known for being like drunk and racist? Like
yes,
so what is he talking about God's country?
white God, yeah,
I guess.
like because Jesus was famously
Drunk
born
and racist.
in Iowa, wherever this fucker's from. We had Katy Perry in space. You remember all that hubbub?
I do.
There's she was singing, and I think Bezos like fell down off the ladder, and uh, you know, uh, she promoted her. She took the time to promote her song or album or some shit, but yeah, and was singing while she was up there. Yeah, there's a Gail King, Lauren Sanchez. I think that's Bezos's.
Yeah. Exactly. Current wife.
Yeah. Definitely a step down from Mackenzie Bezos, in my opinion, or Mackenzie. What's her name now?
I
She's
don't
like
know.
Kinsey Scott. That's her. Yo, how we need to apply to this dog. Like she's giving away billions of dollars. Why ain't we trying to get some of that?
I don't know. I don't think she's found anything I have the idea for. My goal for 2026 is to found a radical bookstore in Huntsville.
All right.
And it'll probably be a nonprofit, so maybe I can get some of that Bezos money. Although I don't think she's going to give me money to sell books that say "Eat the Rich."
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, you know.
I am often very impressed by the class solidarity of the wealthy. And if we had an ounce of that on the other side, like the things we could do with it.
I just need to get her by herself in a room, and I could definitely get you that book money. But here, see, brain rot. This is some specific. We got brands of brain rot. Do they got any? Yeah, the Bombardiro Crocodilo, the Ballerina Cappuccino, the Chimpanzini Bananini. Yeah, there was some AI. Man, I tell you what, the AI brain rot is out of control. But yeah, some Italian specific brain rot. Like I said, there's now genres.
The brain rot.
Good old. Now I'm on Twitter because, like you, I'm also a masochist. But yeah, I get this a lot. Well, not a whole lot, but I post something and I get me some Grok's. Is this trues? And I got in a fight with Grok once, and then I called him a clanker and ended it. So I don't.
How did he respond to being called a clanker?
He took it in stride. Took it in stride, but I did call him a clanker, and that he was wrong. Oh, I know what I was arguing with the fucking AI about. A greater Israel. It's like, this is an anti-Semitic fucking trope. I'm like, no, it ain't. Look at their patches. well, it might be some, but it's very small. It's like, okay, buddy. So yeah, got in a fight with Grok this year.
There you go.
100 men versus one gorilla. Did you miss that one?
No, I saw about that, and I remember being disturbed by it.
I think there were some variations on this. I saw one. It was like 100 gorillas versus one cop.
Oh Lord.
But yeah, it's you know, but no, no. That was the bear. I'm sorry. It was, would you rather be in a room with a bear or a cop or whatever? But no, the 100 men versus one gorilla. Me personally, I think 100 men could take a gorilla. But you know, you'd have to do it right, like two at a time. You're gonna lose a lot of people. You're
I
gonna lose
feel
a
like
lot.
the first few people in line would probably not feel pretty for a while.
No, they would if they lived. But eventually, that gorilla is going to hit, you know, uh, muscle failure. You know, eventually, especially if like you got 98 sitting on the sidelines, two just like running around. Got to have cardio. This is all these dudes. It's not a strength thing. It's a cardio thing. You know, so I think 100 men can take one gorilla.
I don't know. Maybe so. But why would you want to? Why would you want to beat up a poor gorilla?
Fair.
What did the gorilla do to you? I remember being disturbed by it.
Yeah. Seen some seen some very cool gorillas. Wait. So what's the answer? A few primatologists weighed in with their thoughts. Wildlife photographer and conservationist Ron McGill told Rolling Stone he thinks 100 men could defeat the gorilla if they're committed and go in united. But it would likely be a Pyrrhic victory. It would be a kamikaze mission for the men closest to the gorilla.
That's how I feel about it. I wouldn't want to be the first one to take the gorilla because the gorilla is going to clobber the first few guys.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm saying like two dudes like 180 degrees apart, like circling. That's why I'm saying it's a cardio thing. Like, but yeah, that gorilla, it won't be pretty, and none of them will be happy. Not the gorilla, not the men. Of course, did you see Conclave?
I did. I thought it was an interesting movie.
Yes. No spoilers. It's still fairly fresh.
Yep.
But I enjoyed it. I like that Ralph Fiennes guy.
I did too. I thought he did a good job in that.
Yeah, I think he does. He does a. You ever seen In Bruges?
I have, yes.
Yeah, I liked him in that. I like him. I like me some British actors.
Yeah,
I do. I think it's because they do a lot of theater work. Like a lot of them come out the theater first, so they're like they make movies look easy, right? Because hell, I mean, just about anybody can do a movie, but you try to get up on a fucking theater stage and have all them lines memorized, like that's dumb quote unquote dumb actors, you know what I mean? Like as dumb as they are, they got some brain power somewhere.
Oh yeah, no, the skill of acting I have a great deal of respect for. Now whether they deserve to make millions of dollars and they're weird Scientologists, some of them, but whatever. But no, it's definitely a skill that I don't possess.
Yeah. I just, I have a hard time. You got to be like kind of full of shit too, and like, I don't know.
Well, I spent all day trying to get ready for this talk about Venezuela, and you see how badly I did at it.
Oh,
So
hush, hush. But I don't know. You kind of full of shit. I don't know. Like, I like Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. So, like, you
that's
know,
improv,
play,
though.
play, right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like, you know, you're at play. It's almost childlike. Not childish, childlike. Uh, this one I didn't hear about. Zendaya hat theory. Uh, what's this? What? Uh, some eerie sound and audio per Zendaya hat theory meme, particularly after Zendaya wore another big hat to the Met Gala just as the meme was gaining traction.
She just likes big hats. There's no conspiracy here.
Yeah, so it doesn't exist. The concept was basically just parody of online conspiracy. You nailed it. So yeah, I thought she was what's her face at first, Melania.
No, there's no reason to insult her.
Right. I just saw hat and a big hat and went to Melania. Went to Lamplight. You know, with Mama. Sure. Didn't see this one.
I missed that one.
It's a Tumblr one, and then
I'm not on Tumblr.
Yeah. This guy.
Uh-oh. Donald Trump and Elon Musk break up. You froze on us, Austin. Or perhaps I froze. No, it shows my thing moving, so I guess I'm still here. Well, I can't actually control the... I'll have to Google this article. Top memes, Rolling Stone. 25 best memes, Rolling of 2025. So Donald Trump and Elon Musk break up. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like much of a meme. There was a bunch of jokes made about it, but it's not quite what I mean. Standing on business with Justin Bieber. It was quite a year for Justin Bieber, one during which he found himself especially hounded by the celebrity gossip machine. By June, it seems like he'd finally had enough, and he confronted paparazzi outside a Soho house in Malibu. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it? He told the photographers. But that's where standing on business became whatever. Oh yeah, the Coldplay couple. That was a meme that happened. The Kiss campaign, the one unsuspecting couple. Yeah. I don't know. There are lots of memes. I might go ahead and wrap this up. I don't think Rolling Stone has the same definition of meme that I do.
Ha!
Oh.
I told you I was gonna make sure that I had a backup to if that situation ever happened again. Less than 2 minutes. I got it fixed.
There you go. Well, I tried to fill the time.
Trump and Musk's breakup. Yeah. Standing on business with all 10 toes. I don't know.
I heard standing on business, but I missed the Justin Bieber video.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've heard people say they were standing on business.
What else we got? Nothing beats a Jet 2 holidays. A TikTok audio. Very preppy visit British woman. Labubu matcha Dubai chocolate. Okay, that's pretty perfect. You have you seen the Dubai chocolate out there?
I have, but it's not vegan, so I can't eat it.
So, do you know the conspiracy theory with the Dubai chocolate?
No.
Well, the conspiracy theory is that apparently the folks in Dubai, the rich folks, not quite chocolate they would use, but some other substance of the same color related to sex trafficking. Yeah. And they decided to come out with Dubai chocolate to then push down the results of Dubai chocolate in search results. You see what I'm going with this?
I don't, but that's okay. I probably don't need to.
Yeah, you'll get it if you think about what is also known as chocolate. Um, Performative males. Yeah. Did you see any of this?
So I had never heard the phrase performative male before, but I kind of have known the concept for a while. Like, I don't know, for the past 10 years or so, as committed as I am to feminism, I've been a little bit reluctant to say that, lest people think I'm trying to be performative.
Uh, I I'm a big believer in bringing books wherever you go. My dad like instilled that in me to always have a book with me. So, uh, you know, you know what I mean. So like, you got these guys out reading books at bars and stuff like that. Like, guilty. Uh, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like I have I'm an ebook reader guy. I swore I never would be, but my eyesight has gotten so poor. I need the light and I need to be able to make the text bigger. And plus, you carry a library around with you wherever you go. So yeah, I will happily sit in a bar and read a book. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, but I don't know. Performative male. Just I don't know. Uh, yeah. Yeah, it's better than an incel.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Speaking of incels, apparently this week, Nick Fuentes came out as a virgin. Um, Hope somebody cracks him and uh, yeah, so it takes away his power. Um, of course, the Coldplay couple. I don't know why they didn't have the Coldplay couple there, but did you see that them caught having an affair?
I did. Caught it for.
I mean, CEO and the HR exec. I mean,
Yep. That's been on the nose.
perfect, perfect. HR is not your friend, folks. The Gen Z stare. I get this. Uh, the dead-eyed look that Zoomers supposedly give older people when asked a question. Yeah, that's me and the kids. So I don't know if it's a Gen Z stare thing or just like what have you. But the concept started gaining traction on TikTok in July. Members of generations were quick to deny its existence, with many defending it as a valid reaction to dealing with stupid people. To be fair, I asked some dumbass questions to my kids just to fuck with them.
Fair enough.
Taylor Swift, yeah, the trailer. I prefer. They should be called trailer, in my opinion. You know, Taylor Swift and what's it, Travis Kelsey, trailer. Why aren't we calling them trailer? That seems pretty perfect to me.
Yeah, I think that would be good. My my brothers and I were trying to guess We're trying to figure out what our drag names would be if we were drag queens.
I
And
thought there was a formula to it.
well, I think there is, but we were trying to come up with something good, and my brother came up with Trailer Swift for his. He's going to be Trailer Swift.
Oh, okay. I love your brother. All right.
Yep. My
Me-
brother's the funny one. He should be doing the show, but I don't think he has much in the way of politics.
That's all right. That's all right.
Although he went with us on this Manhattan trip, and it turns out he's quite the influencer. He's like on this streaming platform that I've never heard of, and he's got like thousands of followers. And like he streamed all the way on our trip, and I was like, "Wow, my brother the influencer. Who knew?"
I just now realized I've been scrolling and without the fucking thing up. Professional folks. Yeah. Oh my God. How long did I do that? Anyway. So what platform is he on?
It's called Meet Me or something like that.
Okay. I've not heard of that one. Is it a
I've never
workers
heard.
swap?
I don't know. I've never heard of it either.
Yeah. I'll have to check that out. The Rapture. I'm sure we got another one coming up soon. South African pastor Joshua Malakela. Malakela. Not sure. Claimed that Jesus was coming, and God, it was only September.
Yep.
Damn. Okay. Should have bought. I should have been hitting up Facebook. See what I could have got. Oh my goodness. 6'7". That is all over the house right now.
6'7".
Yes. The phrase first appeared in Skrilla's song Doot Doot 6'7". A lot of TikTok edits as NBA stars. Oh, see, when I heard 6'7", I started making I did like some basketball player jokes, not even realizing. Oh my goodness. So oh my goodness. I feel seen. Yeah, and it means nothing, y'all. But the kids love it. So let them indulge. I saw some school like ban it.
No, give me a break.
Yeah. Group 7 didn't hear about this in the 7th video. If you are watching this video, you are in group 7. It went viral. So group 7 pride. Sure. But yeah, that was the 25 best memes of 2025, and it was definitely used incorrectly in some places.
Yeah, I don't think they have the same understanding of meme that I do.
Yeah. But to end the Free Alabama movement, they are a incarcerated folks led organizing effort, and they're working on a strike beginning February 8th. They've been folks have tried to bust them up several times. This is the release of the documentary, The Alabama Solution. Did you I haven't got to watch it yet. Have you?
It is a very difficult watch. Like I had to pause it at several points and go and unwind a little bit and then come back to it. It is difficult to watch.
I've seen a lot of videos, reposted some that I would find from inside prisons, actually inside Alabama prisons, what's going on and stuff like that. So, I can imagine what's in that, and I do want to see it. I looked at the Oscar documentaries. I didn't see. I don't know if the Alabama Solution, like if the timing was wrong, like for this year's Oscars or something. But I did not see it in Oscar nominations for documentaries. There we go. Made it. But yeah, they're working on they're working on a strike, and it would be good for the working class to stand in solidarity with these folks and exercise our collective power. But yeah, shout out the Free Alabama Movement. You can check them out. You can find them here, freealabamamovement.wordpress.com. And we should definitely look at trying to get some folks from the Free Alabama Movement on the show and have them give us more insight.
That'd be good.
on
I
it.
used to be in touch with that crew.
Yeah, I
Can't
was for a minute. Oh, look at that. They got a contact area. Look, we got something to do. Hey, thank you. Good to see you. I watched some of your show today, as a matter of fact. The undercurrent about the Venezuela stuff while we were getting ready for ours. It's Uncle Warren. Y'all check him out. Got good stuff. But yeah, shoot. We said we were going to be quick.
Yeah. We are an hour and 45 minutes in. Yeah, this is our attempt to be fast. We'll get better at being fast.
Yeah.
It's just there's so much going on. It's hard to condense. And I wanted to make sure we talked about everything about Venezuela. I don't know. We'll get better at it.
I think we hit all the angles for sure. Yeah. There's folks like, to reiterate your point, there's a lot of folks that are tired of war. So contact your critters, your Congress critters, as Red Mike said earlier, and flex that voice, flex that muscle, and tell them you don't want this dumb shit. And find the folks that don't want it either, recruit them, build a working class movement so we can make the world a better goddamn place. So yeah. Well, with that, Red Mike, you got anything else?
I think that's it for me.
Well, hey folks, as we like to say around here, oh, if I can lift my busted old arm, all the power to all the people. We, the people, break our chains together. Solidarity forever, folks.
Solidarity forever.